You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote those words 2,000 years ago. Today, they are the exact blueprint you need to build unbreakable wealth. Welcome. I am Leonidas. When modern men think of wealth, they think of Wall Street. They think of algorithms, complex tax strategies, and aggressive venture capital. While the mechanics of money have evolved, the human mind that controls the money has not changed in thousands of years. We are still driven by the exact same forces of greed, fear, and ego that drove the citizens of ancient Rome. If you cannot master these internal forces, no amount of external financial strategy will save you. You will panic during a market crash. You will buy useless luxuries to impress strangers. You will self-sabotage. This is why, today, we are turning to the ultimate operating system for the human mind: Stoicism. Specifically, we are looking at the financial philosophy of Marcus Aurelius. He was the emperor of Rome, arguably the most powerful and wealthiest man on the face of the earth during his reign. He had access to infinite resources, infinite pleasure, and infinite luxury. Yet, he chose to sleep on the floor. He chose to live a life of strict discipline. Why? Because he understood a fundamental truth that most modern men ignore. Your wealth is not defined by what you possess, but by what you can live without. Today, we are going to build the Stoic finance system. We will explore how to apply ancient wisdom to modern money, how to bulletproof your portfolio against your own emotions, and how to acquire wealth without letting it acquire you. Before we break down these ancient principles, a necessary disclaimer: this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a financial advisor. The content shared here does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. Always perform your own due diligence and consult with a licensed professional before making any decisions regarding your finances or investments. The foundational pillar of Stoic philosophy is the dichotomy of control. The Stoic Epictetus stated that there are things up to us and things not up to us. To be happy and to be wealthy, you must ruthlessly separate the two and completely ignore the latter. Let us apply this to modern finance. What is outside of your control? The inflation rate is outside of your control. The Federal Reserve's interest rates are outside of your control. A global pandemic that disrupts supply chains is outside of your control. The day-to-day fluctuations of the S&P 500 are entirely outside of your control. Yet, what do most men spend their time doing? They watch the news and panic. They check their cryptocurrency portfolios 20 times a day, their moods swinging violently with every red or green candle. They are outsourcing their emotional stability to the macroeconomic weather. What is within your control? Your savings rate, your decision to educate yourself on a high-income skill, the percentage of your paycheck that you automatically invest every month, your decision to cook at home instead of eating out, your reaction to a market crash. When the market drops by 20%, the undisciplined man panics and sells his assets at the bottom, locking in his losses. The Stoic man looks at the exact same market drop, recognizes that the global economy is outside of his control, but his own actions are not. He calmly views the crash as a discount, buys the dip with his cash reserves, and goes back to his daily work. Mastering the dichotomy of control makes you financially invincible. You stop wasting your energy complaining about the cost of living, and you channel all of that energy into increasing your earning power. You become a fortress. Another great Stoic, Seneca, was one of the wealthiest men in the Roman Empire. He advised his students to set aside a certain number of days each month to practice poverty. He told them to eat the cheapest food, wear the roughest clothes, and ask themselves, "Is this the condition that I feared?" Why would a billionaire philosopher practice being poor? Because the fear of losing your money is often worse than actually losing it. Most men are paralyzed in their careers because they are terrified of going broke. They stay in a miserable job that underpays them because the thought of starting a business and failing paralyzes them with anxiety. They are held hostage by their own standard of living. By practicing voluntary discomfort, you inoculate yourself against the fear of ruin. If you purposefully live on rice and beans for a week, sleep on the floor, and take cold showers, you teach your brain a massive lesson. I can survive on almost nothing. Once you realize that the worst case scenario of failing in business or taking a career risk just means you have to eat cheap food and live in a smaller apartment, the fear vanishes. You become incredibly dangerous in the marketplace because you are no longer operating out of desperation. You can negotiate harder. You can take asymmetric risks. You can walk away from bad deals. The man who needs a luxury car and fine dining to be happy is fragile. His upkeep is too high. The man who is perfectly content reading a library book in a quiet park is free. Lower your biological and psychological overhead, and you instantly multiply your financial courage. There is a misconception that to be a philosopher, or to be a highly disciplined man, you must take a vow of poverty and hate money. This is entirely false. The Stoics had a brilliant classification for wealth. They called it a preferred indifferent. What does this mean? It means that having money is certainly preferable to being broke. Money solves problems, it provides security, and it allows you to help your family. It is preferred, but it is indifferent to your moral character. Having $1 million does not make you a good man, and losing $1 million does not make you a bad man. It is simply a tool. When you view wealth as a preferred indifferent, you detach your ego from your net worth. This is the fatal flaw of the modern consumer. He attaches his identity to the logo on his steering wheel and the zip code of his house. When his net worth drops, his self-worth drops with it. Because his ego is on the line, he makes irrational, emotional financial decisions to keep up appearances. He finances liabilities at 10% interest just to signal his status to people he does not even respect. The Stoic views money as a hammer. It is a useful tool to build a house. You should try to acquire a good hammer, but you do not tie your self-esteem to the hammer. If someone steals the hammer, you are annoyed, but your character remains intact. Pursue wealth aggressively, build businesses, invest heavily, but do it as a game of skill, not as a desperate plea for societal validation. Memento mori translates to remember that you must die. It is the practice of meditating on your own mortality. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that his time on earth was a brief spark in the vast darkness of eternity. In personal finance, we are obsessed with the return on our investments, but we completely ignore the ultimate non-renewable asset, time. Seneca wrote, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire." Men will ruthlessly guard their bank accounts, but they will let anyone steal an hour of their time. They will work 80 hours a week until they are 65 years old, trading their healthy, vibrant years for a pile of cash they can only spend when their joints ache and their energy is gone. The Stoic finance system requires you to flip this equation. Money is infinite. The central banks print billions of it every day. Your time is strictly finite. Every second that ticks by is gone forever. Therefore, the purpose of wealth is not to accumulate a high score on a bank screen. The purpose of wealth is to buy back your time. You should be investing in assets that generate passive cash flow, not so you can buy a private jet, but so you can wake up on a Tuesday morning and have absolute sovereignty over what you do with the next 24 hours. When you internalize memento mori, You stop saving for a retirement that you are not guaranteed to see, and you start building systems that grant you freedom in the present moment. How do we turn these ancient philosophies into modern action? You implement these three systems today. The Stoic Buffer, Emergency Fund. To practice the dichotomy of control, you must have a 6-month emergency fund. This is not just cash, it is peace of mind insurance. When you have 6 months of expenses sitting in a high-yield savings account, you cannot be bullied by a boss, a landlord, or an unexpected bill. You have bought your own emotional stability. The Premeditatio Malorum portfolio. This means the premeditation of evils. Once a quarter, write down the absolute worst things that could happen to your finances. What if you lose your job? What if the market drops 40%? Write down exactly how you will handle it. When you plan for the disaster in times of peace, you will not panic in times of war. The Voluntary Poverty Week. Twice a year, live on a fraction of your income for 7 days. Eat basic staples. Walk instead of driving. Cancel all subscriptions. Prove to yourself that the foundation of your happiness is your own mind, not your credit card limit. Wealth is not the amount of money you have in the bank. Wealth is the gap between your desires and your resources. You can become richer by acquiring more money, but you can also become richer instantly by desiring less. Marcus Aurelius ruled the known world, but his greatest conquest was the mastery of his own mind. If you want to conquer the modern financial world, you must start by doing the exact same thing. If this philosophy resonated with you, subscribe to the channel. We are building a community of men who use discipline to forge both character and capital. Which Stoic principle are you going to apply to your finances this week? Let me know in the comments below. I am Leonidas,